The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Jeff Ulbrich made some interesting comments earlier today about Sauce Gardner's tackling. And speaking of tackling, the Jets ran a tackling presentation earlier today. That's where we're at, Jet fans. We'll talk about that and much more. It's the Jake Asman Show. A first-time guest will join us. Let's hit it and get it started. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super Chats, baby. Cut the line. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show. Here we go, Jet fans. Welcome in, everybody. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. You never know. You might be eligible for a channel membership. We are, of course, pushing the Patreon. We are just 15 Patreon members away from 500 Patreon subscribers. Thank you to everyone who supports the show via Patreon. Head over to patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. Get Discord access, 15% off every item in the merch store, bonus shows that are not on YouTube, and, of course, your name added to the intro. That and a whole lot more. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. Thank you to Phil, Joseph, Jeffrey, Dan, Debbie, and Kevin for being our most recent Patreon subscribers. Jeff Parles normally joins us every single Wednesday at this time. He's been pushed to tomorrow due to a last-second change in his schedule. So joining us right now, someone who was going to join us tomorrow, but is hopping on the show a day early. He is the co-host of the Jets podcast with the Believe Podcast Network with former Jets running back Bilal Powell. Rami Lavi joins the show. Rami, what's going on, man? Give people your quick backstory, because you and I don't think we overlapped when we both worked at WFAN, but I've known you a long time.
First of all, Jake, thanks for having me on my backstory. So I started working in media, I guess, during COVID. I just decided to start a podcast, wanted to kind of venture into that field. And I think you were one of my first guests, actually, on that podcast. We connected through Johnny Lazarus, and you were one of the first guests I had on. Probably wasn't great. I haven't listened back to the episode in a while, so I'm sure it wasn't wonderful. But I ended up getting a job down in Maryland, where my parents moved to, working for the Ravens and Orioles. So I worked down there on the radio network there for a couple of years. And then Spike Eskin moved me up to New York when he was the program director at WFAN. And since then, I've been here in New York working as a digital content creator and producer. And I've even hosted a couple of shows on WFAN. And I started hosting the Jets podcast last year on the Believe Podcast Network with Bilal. And Bilal's awesome. It's so cool. I've gotten to meet so many of his former teammates and guys that I grew up watching. Like, these were the guys that when I was in middle school and high school, that's who we were watching. And so it's so much fun for me to now kind of be friendly with these guys. So it's been a cool experience for me working on the Jets podcast and getting this opportunity to interact with a lot of Jets fans and working in New York sports. What could be better, right? No doubt. And Bilal's a great guy. He's been on this show a bunch. So that's a good co-host you have there in Bilal Powell. Great Jet. And I always tease Bilal. He showed up in 2011. He never got to be a part of the Rex Ryan AFC Championship teams. I told him that, like, you got drafted. He always says, I got drafted to a winning organization. That's what I thought I was getting drafted to, because I always ask him, and I talked to Willie Colon about this. When guys come in from outside, the most perfect example is Aaron Rodgers. How do guys seemingly come to the Jets and become losers, right? How does that happen? Guys who come from winning programs like Ohio State and Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, or Sauce Gardner, where he came, like, these guys come from different organizations, different schools, and all of a sudden they come and they're like warped into the Jet vortex. And so I asked Bilal about that. I said, well, I don't know anything about that, because I came into a winning organization. Right. I came into a winning culture. And until late in that season, they were a winning team. Obviously, the Victor Cruz 99-yard touchdown turns both seasons around. The Giants go on to win a Super Bowl. The Jets have been in the doldrums since. So it's kind of crazy how that happens. Unreal. Well, we'll talk about the present state of affairs for the New York Jets. I want to play two cuts from today's press conference featuring Jeff Ulbrich. The first one is about Sauce Gardner, who obviously is having a down season, had a miserable tackle attempt, a huge turning point in this game on Sunday when he couldn't bring down Trey McBride on 3rd and 6, when at the time the Jets were only down 14-6. Sauce, of course, has had some tweets. We've had some fun with that.
On our show, our latest channel emoji for Asmaniac channel members is the Sauce, aka Ahmad and Matt O'Leary emoji after Sauce went at Matt on Twitter. So everyone knows the story by now. So this was Ulbrich being asked about Sauce's tackling and the tweets as well.
Have you talked at all with Sauce? It seems like he's been taking the season a little hard. You know, there were some tweets that kind of were sent out over the last couple of days. Obviously, the interceptions haven't been there, which was a focus for him this offseason. Play seems to not be to the typical standard of what we've become accustomed to seeing.
I think everybody in this building needs to play at a higher level, coach at a higher level, and have more accountability. So we all need to improve in that way. Sauce recognizes the fact that he has a very high standard for himself, as we have a very high standard for him, and he knows that, and he needs to, and he wants to play better, and he's working his butt off to get that accomplished. Some of the lack of interceptions are lack of ops, you know, from the standpoint he's just not targeted a ton, you know, but he is part of all of us in the building that need to do a better job.
So he's going to defend Sauce, of course, but it's not the lack of interceptions that have been a problem for Sauce. That was the case last year. He was a first-team All-Pro. The tackling is a real weakness. I think teams have now identified that as a weakness, and they're designing plays to try and exploit that weakness. And I just think you look at Sauce, he's like in his head. He's getting more penalties this year than he has. He has actually been beat a little more than in the past. But the tackling, I don't remember it, Rami, ever being this bad. And it's a clear problem for him and this team going forward.
Yeah, early in the season, I was talking about how, well, you know, the problem isn't necessarily on Sauce. The problem is that we're getting to the second and third level before guys are being touched, and we're relying on our safeties and DBs to be making tackles. But now you can't defend it anymore. Like, that was okay, fine. The front seven should be doing better. But now it's everyone. And with Sauce, he looks almost uninterested. And it's so funny that, like, you see him going high on the tackle, and you hear the same buzzwords, all right? And it's so interesting. They make a coaching change. And then you still hear the same buzzwords from Jeff Ulbrich that you heard from Robert Saleh. You hear, oh, well, we have to be accountable. How many times have we heard accountable? Accountable is not something you say. It's something you practice. It's not something it's not a buzzword you can just say. And, oh, he hasn't had so many ops. Talking about ops. I'm tired of hearing the same buzzwords to defend guys. At some point, holding people accountable starts by holding people accountable instead of defending everything they do.
Right, and he's had enough opportunities, and he still hasn't come through. I mean, I was at the game in London where he dropped one of the easiest interceptions he'll ever have an opportunity to make. And this has now been a thing for 2 years. And it's fine if every other aspect of your game is as dominant as it was his first 2 years. But it's not even just Sauce. As good as DJ Reed has played, he doesn't have any interceptions either. This team has 2 interceptions all season, and it's by Brandon Eccles, who's a backup corner on this team. Like, it's really been a fundamental problem of the Robert Saleh defense the last couple of years. They do not force nearly enough turnovers in most of these games.
And you hear Joe Benigno talk about that every single time he's on WFAN. That's his big
How about
thing.
when he's on this show every Monday after every Jet game? How about that?
Every Monday on the Jake Asman show too. So he's talking about, I'm telling you, this defense, bro, it's overrated. They don't force any turnovers. And he's right. He was onto this when the defense was actually playing well. He's been saying this. So he's 100% right. You always need a play from your defense. I don't care how good your team is. Sometimes you need the defense to make a play. And unfortunately, even if you're holding teams to not a ton of points, even if sometimes you're not giving up a ton of yards, which is what defense is measured by. That's why they've been a top 5 defense, because they don't give up a ton of yards. Still, you need them to sometimes flip the field, make a play for you, get momentum back on your side. And it feels like the best teams, even though their defenses aren't great, like think about the Ravens. Their defense has stunk all year, right? They punch a ball out and get a fumble, which turned the entire game. The defense wasn't great the rest of the game. Defense wasn't great before that. The point is, though, they made that one big play, punching the ball out against Cincinnati. It changed the entire game, woke the offense up, got momentum back on their side. You need this defense to start doing that. It's inexcusable.
How do you view Sauce going forward? Do you still want him here as part of the long-term future on this team?
He has a lot to prove. Bilal always talks about there's a lot to play for even when a season's dead. They're 3-7. They're not going anywhere this year. They're probably not making the playoffs, almost 100% certainty. And yet still, this is your interview, Bilal likes to call it, right? This is the opportunity for you to show other teams, but also your team, what you're made of. Come to work hard. Actually put the phone down and stop tweeting at Matt O'Leary. Stop doing things like that. Actually hold yourself to a higher standard. Say, you know what? I was wrong. I messed up. I haven't been good enough. Show an interest in wanting to get better in the fields that you're not great at. and we'd want to bring you back. Otherwise, they're going to have to make a choice, whether it's Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson. There's all those other contracts coming up. They're going to have to make a choice. And if Sauce Gardner continues to be the guy who's on social media a ton, who seems disinterested in improving and is making excuses for himself, I'd move on from Sauce and pick the other guys over him.
The question will be, what is the new GM, new coach? How do they view Sauce? Do they think it's just a down year? Do they think, hey, in the right system, we can get him back to being the all-pro that he was? Like, I wouldn't give up on him, and I certainly wouldn't trade him yet because his value is really low. So it's going to be a fascinating conversation because he's going to want an extension, I'm sure. But the Jets don't have to give him any extension. The only guy I'm definitely trying to extend this offseason is Garrett Wilson. Beyond that, I mean, Breece is a running back, so it's an interesting conversation. Jermaine's coming off the injury, so you don't have to do anything. But hey, I thought Sauce was a lock to surpass what Surtain just got right before the year started. You can't extend Sauce off this season right now.
No, not at all. And that's the thing. So doing nothing this offseason is probably the best move. And for him also, he wants to prove himself in another season. So You have to earn it if you're Sauce Gardner. Now you have to earn it. And the thing about him is going into this year, I would have told you that's the guy I want to sign more than anyone else because it's so hard to find a lockdown corner in the NFL. It's so hard to find that guy. They just don't exist where you have these one-on-one guys who could just take a guy out of a game plan. No one's Revis, obviously, but to that point where you have a corner who could just lock a guy down, you don't find that. It's rare to find it in the NFL. So you would have liked to have locked up Sauce Gardner, but now he's a question mark. And I think it's the biggest turn of this season is what happened to Sauce Gardner because it's confusing. It's puzzling.
Yeah, there's a lot that's gone wrong this year. Sauce not being, a great player was certainly not anything none of us could have expected given how dominant he was his first 2 years. I will say this for Sauce. 24 minutes ago, he did come out and say that he is deleting social media from his phone. He said, quote, me being a leader of the team, of the defense, I can't be on social media with my emotions, saying certain stuff. I know better. So, you know what? At least he owned it. All right, I'll give him
Second time he said that this year, though, because he did that about a month ago.
Right. And we'll actually stay off social media now, so I'll say nothing. Nothing.
Right. Exactly.
God. All right, the other big news today at Jet Camp, or the Jet facility, is that the Jets are returning to fundamentals. Jeff Ulbrich says the Jets will return to the fundamentals of tackling this week and be in pads. He also did a tackling presentation for the entire team this morning. So it only took till week 11 for the Jets to work on tackling. Rami, your thoughts?
And that's what I tweeted out. I love Antoine. He's coming on the Believe in Jets show tomorrow. And the first thing I tweeted out, I said, week 11, we're doing tackling presentations. That's the first thing you do when you put pads on in training camp. Like before the season starts, that's the first thing you should be doing is right when you get the pads. Hey, we're going to go low. There's a new rule this year. You're not allowed a hip drop. Here's the different things. Here's when you're going at a quarterback, inside the pocket. All those things you should have been doing. If they're going back to fundamentals, it doesn't feel like they're going back to it. They're going to it in the first place. This is a team that lacks fundamentals, right? We see it on special teams with some of the penalties. We've seen it on the offensive line. Some of the penalties and the unorganized, and Aaron Rodgers always talks about it's in the details. Yeah, it's in the details. This team doesn't do any of that. So, of course, they're going to the fundamentals. I just don't think they're going back to it. I think they're starting from scratch in week 11.
This is where we're at. And this defense was elite last year. And for it to be at a point now where we're talking about wearing pads this week and a tackling presentation, it really is stunning. This was Ulbrich being asked about his genius plan to fix the tackling woes.
Are you going to tweak anything this week?
Yeah, we are. So today we're going to be in pads for Indo. Tomorrow we're going to be in pads for the entire practice. And we're going to drill if there's 15 minutes of Indo, it's going to be 14 and a half minutes of tackling, and we're going to get back to fundamentals and basics. I did a tackling presentation for the team today, not just the defense, so everybody knows exactly what we're doing, how we're attacking it, how we're going to get it fixed.
All right. Do we put any faith in Ulbrich's presentation to solve the tackling woes, Rami?
Glad they did it for the whole team. So on any future fumbles or interceptions, the offense can learn how to tackle too. But no, again, why would you expect anything to change? And the problem is, I think in that room, and I think it shows on Sunday in Arizona, the team's pretty much given up. And so now you're going to tell them they have more work to do in practice. Now you're implementing more. How much is that going to further break the team and feel the guys are going to start feeling like, oh, I'm out. This is for the birds, right? I don't see that this is going to be something that's going to motivate the guys to want to do better. The only thing that I could think that's motivating them the rest of the way, like I said, prove yourself, show yourself off to other teams that could be looking at you. If you want to get traded somewhere, there's going to be a new GM coming in here. How's he going to view you? He's going to look at tape from this year. That's the only thing that can motivate these guys the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, you're playing for pride at this point. And,
Yeah.
they're not technically eliminated, but, on one hand, I could definitely see the Jets winning on Sunday. On the other hand, the fact that the bye is coming up, it's like our guys are already looking ahead to the bye. Like, what type of effort level are we going to get on Sunday? Now, speaking of this game on Sunday, it originally was going to be Joe Flacco making the start at quarterback for the Colts. Now it's Anthony Richardson, as Shane Steichen changed his mind, or Jim Irsay got involved. Something happened there, clearly. But Richardson is now starting at quarterback over Flacco. Is this better or worse for the Jets' chances of winning on Sunday?
Well, there are two things here. On one hand, you could say that Joe Flacco revenge game, he would have wanted to tear up the Jets, and he could have done that, and that would have been fun to watch, even though I am a Jet fan. But it would have been funny to watch him tear them up. And obviously, that would be like, okay, he's the better quarterback. He's not going to make as many mistakes. So maybe that would be worse for the Jets. But then think about what we just talked about. Do you want to see the Jets trying to tackle Anthony Richardson, a team that has been terrible at tackling and specifically stopping running quarterbacks? Now you have this huge man coming at you and you have to tackle him. I don't think the Jets want to tackle Anthony Richardson going into a bye. They probably want to go, we're good. We'll go to the bye, run all over us, have fun. And I don't think he's going to make mistakes against this defense, although Will Levis still made mistakes. Maybe the Jets get another interception this week. Maybe they finally break the streak, but I don't anticipate him throwing too much. I bet you mentioned who looked at this. Shane Steichen probably looked at the Jets defense and was like, oh, wait, of course I should be starting Richardson. I could run all over them.
I agree on one hand, for like, it scares me that his running ability, but then I also know, like, this guy's not any good. Like, defense, show some pride, man.
No.
He can't throw. Like, literally, if you just have some sort of discipline in the running game, like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to force some turnovers. This guy, he's completing less than 50% of his passes this season. He's got like 7 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He has really struggled and has not adapted to the NFL game just yet.
Yeah, but we saw Will Levis still run all over them. If it weren't for a couple of boneheaded mistakes there, he probably would have beat the Jets too. The same thing with Drake May. You think Drake May in that second half or in the first half against the Patriots, the second game, he was running all over them too. And then obviously they give up the game-winning drive to Jacoby Brissett. So I don't know how much it matters who the quarterback is. I really don't. And the only way, and this has to be the game plan if you're the Colts. This is why this is the perfect spot to get him back in if you are the Colts. If you're looking at it from the Colts perspective, let's get him into a spot where his only job is don't make a mistake. Let the Jets beat themselves.
Right.
You just don't make a mistake and we'll win. That's a great landing spot if you're trying to get the confidence up for a young quarterback who clearly has talent but hasn't figured it out at the NFL level yet.
It's just unreal, but I mean, that's...
Can you imagine saying that, though? The Jets defense is the soft landing spot for a young quarterback trying to get going. Like, imagine someone told you that at the beginning of the year. It's crazy.
Everything that we thought about this team, strong defense, elite special teams, it's been the total opposite. And the offense is better. Like, we were going through DVOA on the show this morning. Like, they went from 32nd in offense DVOA to 19th entering this week, which, not great. No one's celebrating 19th when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback and all these weapons. But the point is, if the special teams remained at 5, which is where it was last year, and the defense remained at 3, which is where it was last year, they'd be in the mix right now, even with this diminished version of Aaron Rodgers.
They'd be 6-4 if they had a kicker, and it's tough to think that way, but they could be 6-4, 3-0 in the division. I mean, with everything that's happened this year, you'd be going, all right, just beat the terrible Colts, go into the bye at 7-4, and we'll pick up from there. And yet, bad teams find ways to lose, and unfortunately, early in the season, their finding ways to lose was missing kicks over and over and over again, and they didn't correct it.
Nobody finds more ways to lose than the New York Jets. Nobody gives you the best deals on tickets to any Jet game or any sporting event than SeatGeek. Folks, promo code Jake Asman, $20 for all new customers at checkout. Some of these tickets for the game on Sunday, if you do want to go, the Jets Colts, are going for around $30, maybe a little less. So you basically could go for almost free if you use the promo code Jake Asman if you get your tickets through SeatGeek. All the info, the link is in the description for this video you're watching. Thanks to SeatGeek for being today's sponsor. Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. We're talking with my dear friend, Rami Lavi, who is the co-host of the Jets podcast on the Believe Podcast Network with former Jets RB, Bilal Powell. You also can hear Rami on WFAN, where he hosts on the station. So get in, submit your questions, your comments. We'll mix in some calls as well. I did want to ask you specifically about Aaron Rodgers' future, because he made some comments earlier when asked if this season has altered his opinion on whether or not he wants to play next year. He said it hasn't. He says he still thinks he wants to play next year. Your thoughts on those comments, plus Rodgers' overall future with the Jets beyond the season?
I think the comments in the first place are surprising. He's never been one to comment on his future, especially this early in the season. He's always, let's see how it goes. Let's see where I'm feeling. Let's see how the health is. So the fact that he made the comments in the first place is kind of surprising. Listen, we know the Jets are already looking for a new head coach, probably a new GM too this offseason. So how does that affect that search? Who wants to come in? Or do they want to move off Aaron Rodgers if there's someone new coming in who's going to build it from the bottom up? And I think if they do move off Aaron Rodgers, the only question is, who's he going to take to the Super Bowl next year after leaving the Jets? Because that seems to be the luck of the franchise, and I wouldn't be shocked. And by the way, I've said this since the beginning. I said this when he got hurt last year. As disappointed as I was that he got hurt, I've been an Aaron Rodgers fan my whole life. I've loved watching him in Green Bay. I think his competitiveness and everything he does is special. I think he's got some of the skilled things that he does with running, throwing on the run, different arm angles was Mahomes like, the little flick of the wrist. And some of the things he does at the line was Peyton Manning like. I thought he was honestly the best quarterback I've ever seen, most talented, smart quarterback I've ever seen in my life. And I loved watching him growing up. It really started when he beat the Steelers after the Jets lost to the Steelers in the AFC Championship game. I hated the Steelers, wanted them to lose in the Super Bowl, saw Rodgers beat them, and immediately became a Rodgers fan. And I said this last year, I'll say it again. I'd rather watch Rodgers succeed elsewhere, as much as that would sting, than watch him be just pull down into this mess that is the New York Jets franchise. It's sad for me as an Aaron Rodgers fan to watch this. And so, but I want to see him play another year. I don't want to see him go out like this. If he comes back and has a good year, I hope it's for the Jets. But how does that affect the future? If the Jets decide to cater, and this is what I think Woody Johnson will do based on his track record, his history, he'll cater to Aaron Rodgers. If he brings in a coach for the short term and it's another bad year, then everything's delayed another year and they have to start over again the following year. And it's bringing in a new coach again. And it could become even bigger a mess than it is right now. So I don't know what the right answer is for the Jets on their side. And who knows if Aaron Rodgers wants to stick around in this mess.
I still think everything is up in the air because there's 7 games to go. How does he look down the stretch? Is he
That's
healthy
true.
at the end of the year? I think when you look at his play this year, at times it's been good. At times it's been awful. I think if you look at overall, like, would this version of Aaron Rodgers have been good enough with last year's team to make the playoffs? I think the answer is yes.
Yes.
But now you're no longer making moves about like all in for Aaron Rodgers. So I look at it like this: if he's back next year, you still have to draft the quarterback in the first round, and that guy could sit, and that might be the best scenario for that player you're drafting. But under no circumstance are you like running it back with Aaron Rodgers, and you have no like succession plan at quarterback. That'd be beyond moronic, given how the season has gone.
Oh, 100%. And I think also that changes the mindset. There has to be a shift. I think this year, the whole mindset with the way they talked about the year last year, it's like, oh, Aaron Rodgers will save us. Aaron will save us. I think that leaked into the locker room. I think you heard Saleh talking about the mulligan. You heard them talking about that stuff. That's the lack of accountability we talked about. That leaks into the locker room to now the guys are so reliant on Rodgers. That's why they're losing their fundamentals. That's why they're not as good at things, because they're just hoping, oh, we have a savior now. He's going to come and save us. It doesn't work like that. Going into next year, I think the locker room, the players, whoever the new coach and GM have to understand, Rodgers is just a guy. This isn't the God that's saving us. It's just another guy who can play quarterback still at times at a really high level and at times at least be smart enough to not kill you. And everyone around him has to be great in order for this team to be successful. So I think it's a major shift in mindset. Can we see him do what Joe Flacco did with the Browns last year? Easily, of course. But the team around him has to be really good, like it was for Flacco last year. It's not Rodgers is saving us. Even if he comes back next year, that's not going to be the mindset.
It's just a matter of like, does he want to like just be a guy and not like Aaron Rodgers anymore? Like Flacco is just like he's just a guy. He's a backup that could give you a spot start at this stage of his career. Had a nice run. Like he became what Ryan Fitzpatrick was at the end of his career. That's where Flacco's at. Does Rodgers want to do that? I don't know. And I think that's why these next 7 games will be telling. Because what if they do play well down the stretch and he's pretty good, and they're thinking, all right, there is talent on this team. We all agree with that. And it's like, you hire the right coach. Can this team, go from 7-10 or 6 wins, wherever it ends up? Is there a path where Rodgers is back? Plus, you're thinking about your long-term plan at that position in the first round of the draft anyway.
I hope so. I hope that's the idea. And I don't know where you stand. I know we haven't heard anything about him, about Jordan Travis. I don't know if that's just like a lost cause, but, if you're in the position to draft someone who's good but maybe raw, like a Shedeur Sanders, something like that, I don't know how high he's going to end up going. But if you look at some of the players in the draft, there's no NFL-ready quarterback in this draft, at least today. Of course, things change as we get closer to the draft. Obviously, people start to overhype people, and that's what happens. But if there's someone in the middle of the first round that you feel like is maybe more of a project, and that's where you're drafting 10, 11, 15, where they've been drafting the last couple of years, I could see them drafting the quarterback. And hey, you have to tell Aaron Rodgers, we know you didn't like this with Jordan Love in Green Bay. Guess what? This is on you again.
He would understand.
You have to.
This is a completely different situation than that, because remember, when they took Love, they were coming off a 13-3 season. They were in the NFC Championship game. The Jets would be coming off a 6 or maybe at best 7-win season where they built everything around them, and it blew up in their face with a new regime coming in. So if he gives them any attitude about drafting a quarterback, then he's gone. They're just going to cut him, or they either take the dead cap hit year one next year, or they spread it out over 2 years and just move on. That's it.
The Broncos have set a precedent where it's like, hey, if you're not helping us right now, we will cut you with Russell Wilson. That's one of the craziest things we've seen, the amount of dead cap that they hit over this year, next couple of years. So they've set the precedent now. A new GM could come in here and look at that and say, hey, I can still compete and make my team get better like the Broncos did just by moving off of the guy. So I'm not shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if the Jets still, Rodgers wants to come back and he's ready to buy in and all that. And they just say, hey, it's better for us to go in another direction.
I do know he's very close with Chris Johnson. So I think, Rodgers, I think he does want to play next year. I just think that we're not going to get a real idea where he's thinking based on until we know how the next 7 goes. Because the guys in that room are still looking at we could still do this. We could still have a season here. Until they're actually mathematically. So? I do. I know Rodgers thinks of it that way, because look at how many times in his career he's gone on ridiculous win streaks. These guys are so competitive, especially him. So even if they can't make the playoffs. It didn't look
that way on Sunday. I'll tell you that.
Well, yeah, for sure. But look at all the other games they were in, and they just got blown out. They just got beat. I look at it like this. To me, it really comes down to how these next 7 games go. Because there's also a chance. What if he gets hurt? And then they put him on IR because the season's over. It's does he want to go through it again? I don't know.
I can't see him going through another rehab. So if there's another injury that's significant enough for him to land on IR, no, I don't see him doing that again. But yeah, you're right. If the team if they get to 7, 8 wins,
so
you have
there's
to play
7
well
games
enough.
left. Let's say they go 4-3 over their final 7, and that would put them at 7-10. He might come back. He's also owed $45 million almost next year. We could say this guy's got more money than anyone, and he does. He's made more money than any active NFL player in the league right now, over $350 million in his career. But it's still a lot of money he'd be walking away from too if he says he still wants to play, which he did today.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Wouldn't it be typical Jets for them to go on a little bit of a run to end the season, get to 8 wins? You're feeling good about Rodgers, so then they bring him back, and it's a debacle again next year.
Regardless, they better still draft the quarterback. That's my only I want Aaron back if he's willing to be here with a quarterback that they're drafting, because I don't want to play a guy right away. The Jets have tried that. It doesn't work here in this market, and I think the last time the Jets actually had a quarterback sit, it did work with Chad Pennington, so I would do that.
And also, where is the glaring hole that you would need to fill in the first round that would stop you from drafting a quarterback? You could say defensive tackle, maybe, but really not. I think the Jets have a pretty complete team talent-wise that you could look and draft a first-round quarterback and say, okay, we can punt on the first-round pick on a guy who's just not going to play in 2025.
Peter Castro saying he's done. Peter, he just had a half against Houston where he looked like vintage Aaron Rodgers. I really do think with better coaching on this team is a lot better. He has not been great. There's been moments where you've seen the old Rodgers. I was at the home opener against the Patriots where for an entire game, he was awesome that night. But he did his job against the New England Patriots, and then the defense allowed, Keyshawn Boutte and Jacoby Brissett to carve him up. I just think, where are you finding a better bridge quarterback than potentially Rodgers for one more year when he's under contract anyway? I'd rather just deal with it for one more year and see what happens.
Think about the Denver game. Think about the game in London that you are at. All those games, he led them theoretically on game-winning drives until they missed the kick. And if you add Devontae Adams into the equation, where you saw him just give a thumbs down to him against Houston, and they have that nonverbal communication, how many of those third downs that turned into, kicking on fourth down, how many of those would they have converted if he was here the first couple of weeks? So no, I don't think he's done. He's certainly not what he once was, but he actually looks like he's almost getting better as the season goes on. For sure, mobily, he's getting better. And I think if that game starts different, if Sauce Gardner does make that tackle and now it's 14-6, I actually think that gives them some momentum and they're not chasing and playing from behind and looking for the big plays all the time. I actually think Rodgers actually puts up a pretty good offensive game if that happens. Unfortunately, the way it fell, that doesn't happen. They're going for it on fourth downs, and so thus the scoreboard ends up looking worse than it ultimately was. So I don't think he's done. I don't think he's what he was, but I think you could still win with him.
Yeah, my big thing is what's the alternative? Okay, you're going to draft the quarterback, and then
right.
Who's starting next year? And who's the quarterback?
You have all this
drafting?
talent on your team still. Why would you want to punt the next couple of years while they're still cheap? And now you're going to have to give them extensions, and then what? Then you're paying all those guys a ton of money, and maybe you hit on the rookie quarterback, maybe you didn't, and now he's in his second and third year, and you're trying to figure out that again. Like, we've seen that time and time again, whether it was Geno, whether it was Sanchez, whether this is the most talented the team has ever been. Darnold never played with talent like this, right? So I'm just, why would you want to go down that route again?
Yeah, look, I'm open to seeing what happens the next 7 games, because
unless you're telling me they're trading somehow and picking up the contract of Dak Prescott or something, like some wild out of the picture thing that we're not thinking of, maybe trading for Kirk Cousins because they're ready to play Michael Penix, something like that. But I think it's a veteran quarterback again. And if you're going to another veteran quarterback, you might as well go with the guy who you're currently paying and is already here.
Yeah, look, there's an argument for both sides of it, but I'll see how he looks down the stretch. Like, that's how I view it. Like, if he just looks terrible, then it's like, okay, just move on. Just take the dead cap hit. You got to deal with it anyway at some point. But if he shows signs of life, like we see more games like the Houston second half versus the Cardinals the whole game, then maybe it's a little different. I don't know. It's just amazing we're talking about this on November 13th.
Oh my God. And how many things can he say also on the McAfee show the rest of the year that'll piss enough Jets people off that's like, all right, we need to get this negativity out of here.
Well,
right?
we've reached the point of the year where, like, he's not going to, like, say we suck. So then he's
not going to talk football, but that's the problem. Now he's not going to talk football anymore. What else can he say that can rub some people the wrong way that he hasn't already done, right?
Yeah, I mean, he like, it's been all about football to this point, but I do wonder, like if they keep
remember
losing.
Last year, once they were eliminated, that's when we started talking about Kimmel and other things. And
He also wasn't playing, though. Like, it's different. He wasn't playing last year.
That's true. That's true. But he kept saying, I'm going to play if we're in the playoff hunt, right? So that's
which
what
I could tell you from multiple Jet players, CJ Mosley, Joe Tippmann on this show, Thomas Morstead, he was playing if they beat the Dolphins and they were 6-8, had a chance to go 9-8 and run the table. He was going to be in shotgun every play. He was carving up the scout team defense at practice. I had Mosley on the air telling me that. Then I spoke to him off the air a little more about it because I was fascinated by it. So they were going to try it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this guy, I don't think he also wants to go out this way too. Like,
no, I think he's competitive. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's prideful.
So we'll see. I just can't believe this is the talk about Rodgers. But anyway, a couple super chats here.
It's not even Thanksgiving yet, and we're talking about this.
It's unreal. Nate writes in, what week did we start practicing kicking? Yeah, that would have been nice. Imagine the Jets had a kicking clinic before Greg Zuerlein cost him, in theory, 3 games.
Oh, wait, they did, but he plays for Washington now, right?
Michael, tackling drills in November. Genius. Only the Jets, baby. Only the Jets. Henny writes in, Brick, how about you show some balls and have Sauce on the side doing tackling drills? That's the whole effing practice. Who does Rodgers blame this week? I mean, I don't even know what to say, Henny. They missed 20 tackles as a team. It wasn't even just Sauce. It was everyone. Everyone was brutal.
And I also think the idea that Rodgers hasn't been accountable, sure, we obviously have the time that he was throwing Mike Williams under the bus. He starts every press conference, I have to be better. Even the game against Houston, I had the worst first half of my career. I have to be better. He's been holding himself accountable. It's just that's not what sells. So that's not what Samini or any of those guys are going to write about. Costello, right? It's just not how it is.
Yeah, I actually think he's been fine in regards to that. And people are just looking for reasons to attack. And I get it. People are pissed off, rightfully so.
And people don't like him.
Yeah, people don't like him. And people are willing to deal with, we have Aaron Rodgers. If, like, you got Aaron Rodgers, like old Aaron Rodgers. Now we have an old Aaron Rodgers.
Even then, I mean, you talked to Ian O'Connor about that in the book that he wrote. I'm sure you've talked to him too. And he hosted at Fan. He filled in the summer, and I produced a show, and he came on my show with Bilal, and we talked about it. He's like, hey, look, even as great as he is, it's one of the weirder things where people just don't like him. There are some people who look at him in a different light because of the things he says, and he's a different character off the field. So even when he was playing well, still there was this kind of feeling of, we don't love this guy.
Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. Gusbuster hotline's open. Let's say hello to JT, who's first up today. What's up, JT?
Yo, what's up, guys?
How we feeling, JT?
Yo.
Tackling drills in freaking November, man. You can't make this up. How do you make it to the NFL without knowing how to tackle? Like, this is only the Jets, man. This is literally just only the Jets, only us. What the hell, man? Yeah, I mean, I wasn't able to watch a lot earlier. What's your feeling on the tackling drills in November?
I mean, it's just a microcosm of the season, right? I mean, like, I guess that's what you're supposed to do. Like, we would never know if these guys weren't required to speak to the media, right? Like, if you're a coach, you're trying to work on how you can get better. They clearly need it, but it's just like, really? We're a professional team that had an elite defense a year ago, and now we need to run a tackling clinic in November. It's mostly the same players who were here last year.
And that's why it feels like it's I was going to say, that's why it feels like it's an effort thing and it's a caring thing more than a technique thing. It's about, hey, we don't care enough about this. We didn't show up. We didn't want to give effort because we flew out to Arizona and we just had 10 days off and we didn't feel like showing up for this game. That's my feeling on it.
It's almost like everybody's trying to improve their own tape and not like work as a team. I don't know, man. Like that film review with Fiacco yesterday just showed like, what is our defensive line doing? We're not doing any kind of containment with Kyler Murray. Like, this defensive drop off is ridiculous, man. We're too talented for this. I mean, I don't know. That's it though. We're too talented for this, man.
They should be better. There's no doubt, there's no doubt, Jay. It's just only the Jets could have this kind of year, man. Like, and that was my big thing too. Like even if you didn't buy into the Super Bowl hype with this team, I thought at the bare minimum we were going to get a winning season. They'd end the playoff drought. Like, and I was okay with that. I was like, I don't need this team to win the Super Bowl this year. Like, I want to watch a winning team. And to go through the hell that we've gone through this year after what happened last year, it's been the worst 2-year stretch of being a fan of this team, because in other years, like, the expectations weren't as high. So it doesn't hurt as much. And, like, you really got your hopes up the last 2 years. And for it to play out this way, it's just only the Jets do this to you.
Every single person, if you would have asked them what's worst case scenario, I think they would have said, all right, worst case scenario is they have 8 wins going into the last 2 weeks against Miami and Buffalo, and they lose those 2 games and fall to 8 and 9 and miss the playoffs. They didn't expect it to be over before Thanksgiving. That was never on anyone's mind, especially when you looked at the teams they were playing early on. No one would have thought that this is only the Jets. You talk about that. They invent ways to lose, and they've been doing it all year. The only team that I saw invent a way to lose that was worse was the Commanders this past weekend. That was the most Jets way to lose, by jumping off sides on a hard count when everyone and their mom knows they were never going to snap that ball. That was very Jetsian.
Just wait. The Jets can find a way to do that same
Still outdo that, yes.
And take a guess which player will be the one who does it. There's one that comes to mind immediately for me.
Michael Clemens.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
He's a practice squad player, if that. I've been tweeting about him all year, and it was actually funny because he has a sack in the Houston game, which is actually pretty big in the moment. But it's just like, my God, how many times do you see him one-on-one with either a running back or a quarterback? And you're like, all you got to do, just find the right angle and make a tackle. And then before you even blink, the guys around him. It's crazy.
Kinlaw, another good suggestion for who jump off sides, because he's Mr. Penalty too.
That's unbelievable. That I didn't, and that's where you start to think like it's the Jets. And I don't believe in curses. I don't believe in juju. I don't believe in football gods or any of that stuff. But sometimes it's like, maybe that's what it is, because this was a guy, not a great player, but he's a really solid, good player, veteran in San Francisco, who wasn't making these kinds of mistakes there. I don't understand how a guy, even if he fell off a little bit in talent, how he turns into a wreck like that coming here. And again, I didn't watch every Packers game. I watched a lot of them because I loved Rodgers. I don't remember Lazard having this many holding penalties and drops when he was in Green Bay. I just don't.
Ladies and gentlemen, comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. We're always seeking channel memberships as well. Thanks to everyone who supports the channel each and every day. Gator writes in, last year they didn't know Bruce Hall could catch footballs. This year they forgot to teach anyone how to tackle. Yeah, Hackett admitting Brees, he didn't realize how good he was as a receiver. And then this year we're teaching the defense that was third in the league last year how to tackle again. Only the Jets.
Well, Hackett's never going to have a job in the league again. After what happened in Denver, I think then he probably wouldn't have had a job if it weren't for people trying to court Aaron Rodgers. So they used him to court Aaron Rodgers. If the fact that he couldn't get it done as an OC with Aaron Rodgers running the offense, I think that's a major indictment on him too. I do think the offense has had some more flavor and creativity with Todd Downing since he's taken over, but it's just too little too late at this point. I don't see how Hackett gets another job elsewhere.
Twerp is the last optimistic Jet fan remaining on this channel. I still believe if we beat the Colts, there's a chance, but the same mentality is one game at a time. Yeah, where was that mentality when they got boat raced down 24-6 at halftime against Arizona on Sunday?
Yeah, one snap, one play, one game, whatever Boomer might say that on the morning show on WFAN, but they were 3 snaps into the game and already down 7-0 against Arizona. So
yeah,
great.
I actually think they'll win Sunday, but like I would pick against them against Seattle. I know nothing about the game or the matchup yet. Jets coming off a bye. I'm not picking them.
Oh, yeah. And how crazy is that? I saw the record somewhere. I think it was the solid Douglas era. The Jets with extra rest, whether it was 10 days or coming off a bye, their record is abysmal. I forget what it is exactly. I wish I knew it off the top of my head. But it's so bad. It's crazy. Every other team is better when they have extra time to prepare, extra days of rest. And this team is not. In fact, if they played on Thursday nights every game this year, they'd actually be awesome. Their best games were on 4 days rest.
That's right. 2-0 on Thursdays and 1-7 on every other day, or
Yes.
1-6 every other day of the week.
Yep.
Or 1-7.
1-7.
1-7. Yeah, I was right. I'm bad at math. City
That's
Burt
why we do this.
Exactly. City Burt with a super chat. Tax-free gains are too juicy to pass up for Johnson if he gets a Trump position. He can even buy another team just for brick and have a bill left over. I mean, he's definitely going to take a position if the Trump administration offers him something. And that just means Christopher Johnson runs the day-to-day. However, Woody would not go abroad until February. So he's still going to be the one making the hires for GM and coach after the season.
Do you have any idea where you think they'll go? I know there's been a lot of talk today about Gruden. I've heard some other names thrown out.
I want Vrabel. Vrabel's my number one choice.
I think so too, but Vrabel's probably going to be a bunch of teams' number one choice, and there's going to be a bunch of teams asking, why would he want to go to the Jets?
Well, compared to some of the other jobs, I do think the Jets job is a little more attractive if you want to win right away because you do have some talent. And he has a good relationship with Rodgers. So maybe it's like, hey, you get Rodgers for a year, plus you get the draft, the heir apparent after that. And then I think if Vrabel wants autonomy, if he wants control, he's one of the few candidates that you'd let, hey, let's work with you on picking a GM you want to work with that you think is a good fit.
I appreciate the perspective. It's so funny because I listen to the radio station a lot when I'm there. I don't listen a ton when I'm not there, but I hear the perspective of, well, you hear Belichick trashing them in the media every week. It doesn't seem like an attractive job because everyone that goes there seems to go to hell. But when you put it that way, it actually does sound a little bit more attractive than I've been led to believe. So
you have all your draft picks, you have cap flexibility, you have
you're not wrong.
It's the New York market, and you have an owner who's very Saleh was the first time a coach under Woody Johnson, 25 years, ever got fired in season. And Todd Bowles got 4 years, Rex got 6. Somehow Gase didn't get fired in season. He got through 2. Saleh even getting 3 years before he was fired. A lot of people questioned in hindsight they should have got rid of him after last year. So you have an owner who's going to be patient with you, and you give him autonomy. If that's your guy, I mean, you're Woody Johnson. You have the money to write a huge check. That's what I would do if I owned the Jets.
Yeah, I guess so. There's no chance they go back to Rex, right?
I think there's more of a chance than people realize.
Really?
I do. I think he's going to get an interview.
Wow. I wouldn't be against it. I'll say that.
It depends on his staff for me has been my big thing. Who's the GM, and then what is the plan for his offensive coordinator and the long-term quarterback plan?
No, I agree. That's true.
Rex 100% would take the job in a second. He said
he said it. He's come out and said it multiple times publicly. So yep. I believe he'd take it. And you talk to anyone, but people forget, we're nostalgic about all this stuff. It got bad at the end of that's what got him fired was the team, the locker room fell apart, and you can't have that, right? So I don't know.
He also got sabotaged by John Izek and him not being on the same page, which is why you don't fire the GM and then keep the coach and force the GM you hire to work with. That's where this mess all started. They should have just gave Tannenbaum and Rex one more year together, said, figure it out or you're both gone.
Exactly. That's every single time. And look, the same thing's going on in Chicago right now with Eberflus. It's just a mess. And that's how you ensure that you always stay bad, is by the carousel where it's every other year. Even this time, they hired Joe Douglas while he still had Gase there, right? I mean, it's just, you don't learn sometimes.
Clay says, from outside the Jets bubble, it's not viewed as an attractive job at all. Well, okay, you tell me which jobs are definitively better than the Jets job, right? I'll just look at the top of the draft because that's a pretty good way to look at who could become available. Jacksonville, you could argue Jacksonville because Trevor Lawrence is young, is there, but if you don't think he's any good, you're stuck with him and that contract for years to come as your quarterback. I mean, if Dable gets fired, is the Giant job great? I mean, the roster's not great. You get to pick a quarterback.
I do think so. I think the Giants job's better.
It depends how you feel about the quarterbacks coming out.
Right, that's true, because you're going to be there with an opportunity to draft a great quarterback. Do you like one of the quarterbacks? If you do, then the Giants do a good job. They have a really good defense still, I think, personnel-wise, and they do have Malik Neighbors. Maybe they found something in Tyrone Tracy. The offensive line has kind of started to look a little bit better the last couple of weeks, so I don't think the Giants is a terrible option.
Tennessee won't have an opening. Cleveland, I'll tell you what, Stefanski moves up to number one on my list if they were silly enough to fire him.
100%. And that's the worst job in the league is Cleveland, having to go and be saddled with that contract with Deshaun Watson. Ugh.
Yep. Vegas is not a great job right now. You really don't have
unless
much
you like the quarterbacks again. Again, it's relying on that, but their roster's not as talented as the Giants roster.
We're probably not seeing a change in Miami, New England, no. New Orleans. I mean, New Orleans.
We know it's happening. Yep.
That's a brutal, brutal job right now. You're stuck with Carr. The cap situation is a nightmare for them. I don't know. That's a great job. Jets are a better job than New Orleans.
Carolina, you have to deal with Tepper. Also not a great option, right?
And I think Canales will get another year. They
I
can't
think
fire
so
another
too. He's
coach
not
after a
yeah,
year.
not after 1 year. Yeah, and maybe you saw something in Bryce Young the last couple of weeks. I don't know.
I'm just thinking other teams that could have some openings here. I'm like looking around.
Chicago probably.
Chicago might be the number one opening, just depending on how people still feel about Caleb. Like if you're an offensive-minded guy and you're like, this guy could be a star if I coach him up, you might move Chicago to number one on your list.
Oh, for sure.
Any other jobs we're missing here that could Dallas? Yeah, I guess Dallas is interesting. It's the Cowboys. We got to deal with Jerry. You don't have a ton of cap space. The roster's not great. You're stuck with Dak because of that contract. Not that Dak's awful, but is he ever going to be good enough to win you a championship? I don't know. You can make a case the Jet job is better than the Cowboy job.
No, that roster's still talented. You know Jerry's going to put money into it.
You got to deal with Jerry, who's the GM, whereas the Johnson family is going to let you do whatever you want until you start really losing.
I'm looking at other things. Yeah, I don't know. There's probably not another job open. You think maybe Todd Bowles loses his job down there with how some of that stuff has gone late in games. They've been in a lot of games and lost them because of him just being him, you know?
The only other job I could see potentially opening is Cincinnati if they want to move on from Zach Taylor.
Oof.
That would be, to me, the number one job because you have Burrow.
They're making the playoffs. I think that's the team that goes on a run. Them and Miami down the stretch is going to be fun. Those are going to be two teams fighting for the playoffs, and I think one of them gets in. Yeah,
it's interesting. My point is that, like, you know, everyone says, oh, no one's going to want to take this job. And then you look at some of the other jobs out there, and, like, there's a reason why they're available.
Too. Yeah.
There's a reason why they're available.
No, you're right. You're right.
But, you know, no one talks about that, though. It's always, the Jets are the worst no matter what. Look, until they win, say it. I don't care. I'm done defending this team. They don't deserve the defense. It's brutal. Adam is too cool. He says, Aaron Glenn, head coach, Jim Caldwell, OC, wholesome. Aaron Glenn, I like him as a candidate. I don't like him for the Jets because I don't want a first-time defensive coordinator as the head coach.
Yeah. And that goes the same for Ben Johnson. As much as Ben Johnson, I think, will be successful as a head coach, I don't want a first-time guy coming in here. We need it. You got to do something else. You got to have someone established.
At least he's an offensive guy. Like, I would be okay with Ben Johnson because he's the top guy. You're taking a swing. But, man, if, like, they hire Aaron Glenn, like, yeah, it's a great story. He might be a terrific candidate. But give me someone that's done the job before, that's not learning on the job in the biggest media market in the world.
Yeah. What about if it goes poorly for the Dolphins the rest of the way? Would you want Mike McDaniels here, or would you think that's too much of a circus? I love him. I think he's actually a great coach. Now, I started to question that a little bit when he couldn't figure out with Tyler Huntley, who's not bad. He has some talent. He played a couple of years when I was in Baltimore and actually ran that offense well. And the fact that they looked so awful with Huntley at quarterback kind of made me question how great the Mike McDaniels offense is. Like, you still have Achane and you have Hill and you have all these guys in the offense, and somehow the offense looked awful without Tua. And I don't think Tua is this great quarterback. So that made me question McDaniels a little bit. But if he's available, it would be a circus, but it would be fun. I think it would actually be good.
I mean, he's made the playoffs, 3 times?
And by the way, like, you know how he took on the Miami persona? He's got like the long curly hair now and the tinted sunglasses. Can you imagine him just coming to New York and all of a sudden turning into like an Italian New Yorker and just taking on that? Like,
I don't think he's getting fired. I also I
agree.
He's not Adam Gase, but it'd be like we're hiring the ex-Dolphins coach again.
I know.
Now, Brian Flores, I think, is different because he's now been at DC and Minnesota, has done a great job there.
But is he going to get a job in the league? That's the question. It's the same for Gruden, right? Is that a guy who now he has this lawsuit against the NFL? Is that a guy who's going to get a job? He's done a great job with the defense in Minnesota. I think that's been obviously the biggest difference for them. Do you see that JJ McCarthy had a second surgery on his knee? That's crazy. So what does that mean? Are they going to go back to Darnold next year?
You probably got to keep Sam around in case JJ's not ready for the start of the season.
That's what I'm saying.
They say his timeline has not changed, but they're always going to say that. Just like Jordan Travis was going to be healthy for training camp. They were his agents were telling everyone that in the draft. Oh, draft our guy. He'll be ready for camp. Okay.
Exactly.
The other thing I would bring up with McDaniel, by the way, it'll never happen. But if they did hire him, you got to hire Robert Saleh as the defensive coordinator. Baby.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be incredible. They bring back McDaniel and Saleh as the DC. That would be so funny. I was like, hey, sorry about that, bro. We apologize. Our bad. You were right.
Michael says, still mad at Aaron Glenn for the fake spike game. Aaron Glenn was a great Jet. I mean, come on now. Great Jet. Here for the lean years, pre-Parcells, then post-Parcells.
But it is funny how like the nostalgia former player hires are always, I hear this all day with the Yankee fans. I know you're a Yankee fan too, right? Who, Aaron Boone should be fired for Don Mattingly. Derek Jeter should come in here. Oh, come on. It's just not realistic. They were fun, nice players. That doesn't mean they're great coaches.
I'm 100% in agreement. PBM is up next on the show. What's up, Mike?
I'm going on a rant, dude. I just got to let it all out. Can I do that?
Yes, Mike. The floor is yours.
All right. What the fuck is going on with this
Family show, Mike. Family show.
What the hell is going on with this loser franchise? Nothing we do is right. No matter who we get, no matter what coach, no matter the play call, every season just goes to hell. What did we do to deserve this? Tyron Smith, All-Pro last year, currently the third worst ranked left tackle in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers, 4 plays, never been the same. We killed him like the Jets kill us as fans. Hassan Reddick, invisible, just like the Winds. What is happening? I just, every year, it's the same thing. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. I think I'm going to die and we'll never see the postseason. I'm done, dude.
Well, you were alive when they made the postseason many times. They just have gotten it right. They've gotten it wrong, I should say, with brutal hires at the top. That's where it all starts.
It's been worse and worse and worse, but it doesn't even matter about that. Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl MVP, 4-time MVP, 4 fucking plays. Only the Jets. Every time, only the Jets. All the hype. And dude, we're never going to get to anything. It's not going to happen. We're done. I can only laugh because I'm in so much pain. I'm in so much pain. And with the company, I got some bets that I have to pay off. I got a $100 bet, which is no big deal. But I got a 1-minute video where I have to dress up as a Jets clown and talk about whatever he wants me to say for a minute straight. That's what I have to do. Because I said the Jets are going to go at worst 9-8 this year. That was the bet. He said the Jets are going to go 8-9 or worse. And I said 9 or 8-8 and better. I'm like, I'm going to win.
At least you have something to root for left, right? 9-8 is still possible.
It's not possible. Are you kidding me? We have 7 games left. We might win 1 game.
Technically, it is possible.
No, it's not. It's the Jets. It's not possible.
Well, I don't think it will happen.
Miami.
But technically, you're not mathematically eliminated from winning the bet.
We technically are because we're not going to win.
But you're not. See, we're arguing over the word technically. But I see your point, Mike.
The definition of the word technically is foggy here.
I'm going to be a clown talking about God knows what for a minute.
All right. Well, will you call into the show in your clown outfit?
No, it's going to be posted on my X account, so you can gladly show it to everybody else. Like it's going to go viral, like the other one did.
All right, I want to introduce you before I play the video with this. Yeah, thank you, Mike.
The one thing, it's so funny, he talks about it never changing. I don't believe in that for like the same old Jets. I actually think that's worse because you're absolving the current regime. I talked about that on the podcast on Sunday. And yet the one thing I can't argue that's so same old Jets is getting injured 4 plays in. Like that only happens to the Jets. Everything else is it. We saw it with the Mets. You get the right people in here to run the show.
The Knicks, the James Dolan's not a good owner, but
James Dolan's not. He's got the right people in place and stepped out of the way. So, well, I don't believe in same old Jets. Well, I don't believe in that. I still think the one thing I can't explain is how does a guy get hurt 4 freaking snaps in? It's crazy.
You know, and here's the thing with that too, right? Because people think, oh, well, what did it even matter? Look at what's happened with Aaron Rodgers this year. How do we know that? No. Part of the reason why his play is diminished is because he's not what he was because of that injury at age 40. And also, if he had this year we're watching right now, last year with Saleh, they could have fired Saleh at the end of last year. There would not have been a mulligan, and they could have had maybe Mike Vrabel right now as this team's coach, and they would have a legit chance to rectify it after last year to this year. Now, because they gave everyone a mulligan, you can't run it back again next year with a new staff because Rodgers would be 42 next year. So you got to be thinking about life post-Rodgers, even if he's here next year as the bridge quarterback. So the injury really screwed up any hope of getting rid of the coaching staff, which is holding this team back and giving yourself a fighter's chance this year with a new staff.
Yeah, my father's like, wow, you're really not over. He was listening to WFAN one morning when I was on, and he's like, you're really not over the Rodgers injury, huh? I'm like, no, because everything that's happened this year, like you just said, you broke it down perfectly. The only thing I'll add is last year actually could have been a good season.
Right.
Because if he played better last year, we saw, or even if he was this level, he wasn't great last year. But
if he was this version on last year's team, I agree with you. They're a playoff team.
they're a playoff team. So, maybe that means Salah sticks around. This year goes poorly anyway, but at least they break the playoff drought. It's different. It's something different. I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with the injury.
Ladies and gentlemen, more of your calls right now. Are you aware of who Bobby Midnight is, Rami?
Only from the show. So yes, from this show, I'm aware.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for a little Robert Woodruff.
Well, I could teach Purple Bill not have to be a clown because I'm a clown all the time. So I wouldn't mind, a minute. I sometimes don't know what I'm talking about. So, Rami, you're lucky you work on the Fan. I think you're a cool guy. So what time do you do the radio? I want to call in your show.
Well, actually, I haven't said this anywhere yet, but I'll say it here now. I'm hosting Sunday morning this week. So if you're up early Sunday morning ahead of the Jets game, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. So
I'll be up there. Trust me. I want to talk to you. Did you ever hear about the people calling in for Knoble?
I have not heard about that. No, and
that
I
was
do screen
me.
A lot of calls.
That was me and Jay Quest. We called up Keith McPherson for that. That's,
okay. Yeah, I produced Keith's show a lot.
I stumped him.
All right, let's go back to Bob in Vermont.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think the Jets and Giants will do on the draft, your choices? And also, do you ever hear of a player from college called Knoble?
Knoble? From what school?
College.
Yeah, but what college?
It's just college. Do you ever hear that guy's name?
No, I've never heard of Knoble from college. Knoble from college? What position does he play?
He plays offense and defense.
He plays offense and defense? He's a two-way guy?
Yep, that's what he said.
How do you spell the last name?
Knoble. I can't remember how you spell it. It starts with K, I know that.
Okay, because I'm spelling it wrong on Google.
No, Knoble.
Thanks for the call, Bob. I do not know who Knoble is. Maybe somebody listening knows of a player, a two-way player coming out of college that gives you like 300 options. I'm looking at Zoo. He's just laughing. I'm trying to find out. A two-way player plays offense and defense. Knoble is coming.
So wasn't that pretty funny? I didn't even laugh. Jake you didn't play the other one when I started laughing. I couldn't believe I wasn't laughing after that.
Let's just say Keith got pranked quite a few times by some Asmaniacs.
Yeah, by Jay Quest, too.
But, Bobby, if you call up, the producer's not going to let you through if you try and prank me.
Well, no, I'm not going to prank you.
Okay, perfect.
I like Keith McPherson, too. But we were just playing a joke on the players. Okay. So one thing I did not like you saying, Giants is not a good place to come to. They screwed up this year. They got rid of Barkley. And they kept the smelly quarterback. So how could you say that's a good team to go to? I'd rather go to the Jets because they have more people, more talent on that team than the Giants do. So how do you explain that? I didn't like.
Well, Daniel Jones won't be there next year, so you get to pick a new quarterback.
Yeah,
and the guy who screwed that up won't be there because he's the GM who's going to get fired.
Well, I think the Jets are going to be much better than the Giants next year too. So.
Depends on who the quarterbacks are.
I like Grable coming to our team. He's a good coach. And then what about the guy we talked about, the guy who used to play for the Jets as defensive coordinator?
Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, Aaron Glenn.
I like him. I don't want the Jets to hire a defensive coordinator, first-time coach again. They've done that too many times.
No, I not want to coach. No. No, have Grable as a coach, then defensive coaches. Aaron Glenn.
Why would he take that job? He's going to interview for head coaching jobs. Why would he leave the
Lions?
I
didn't know he was. Okay, well, I'm in the.
Unbelievable.
What a first call from Bobby Midnight to you there, Rami.
I love it. I screen most of the calls on WFAN. I'll be hosting, like I said, again, and I get to have it. I live for these calls.
I'll tell you what, if you like calls, this is the show for you. All right. WFAN does not have a lane train. All right.
No.
You guys do not have the lane train.
On the 2022 draft pick, the pick goes to Knoble out of college.
Unbelievable.
Rami, excellent job out of you. Tell people where they can find the podcast you do with Bilal Powell.
Appreciate it. Believe in Jets. It's available wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple. It's on YouTube. You have to follow the Believe YouTube page. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok. Just search my name, Rami Lavi, Rami.Lavi on Instagram. On Twitter or X, it's Rami_Lavi, like you see it there. And I think TikTok is just Rami Lavi or Rami.Lavi also. And I also, like I said, will be hosting on WFAN Sunday morning, 2 to 6 a.m. We'll do a little Jets Colts preview for the early risers on Sunday. So lots of different stuff going on, and I appreciate you for having me.
Bob in Vermont will be giving you a call, Rami. Get ready.
Oh, yes, he will be. I'm sure he will be. I'll tell Pete Kennedy about him, who's going to be producing.
Oh, say hi to Pete for me. Good dude. I worked with him when I was over there. Yep.
Great dude.
Love it. Rami, thanks for your time, man. Great job.
Appreciate it.
Rami, check it in. Check out his podcast with Bilal. Good spot there with him. I'll stay on for the remainder of the calls, comments, questions, super chats. Were presented by Underdog Fantasy today, folks. If you haven't downloaded Underdog, you're missing out. It is a fun way to watch sports, win some money, make your picks for whatever your sport is, including, by the way, UFC and the Tyson Paul fight, which, you know what? How about this for a segue here? Let's get a Tyson Fall take, a Tyson versus Paul take, and whatever else is on this guy's mind from none other than the boxing guru himself.
Knockouts don't matter if you land enough jabs.
Hello, Gary.
How's it going, Jake?
Are you going to Tyson Paul? It's in Dallas.
No, I'm not going to Tyson Paul.
You're the boxing guy. This is the fight.
You're trying to like rub me the wrong way. You're trying to put me in a bad mood.
No, I mean boxing hasn't been relevant in years. This fight will make him relevant for a night.
You have a 60-year-old fighting a YouTuber, and this is the fight. Like if I said to you, Jake Paul is playing Isaiah Thomas in a game of one-on-one. In a game of one-on-one, you're a basketball fan. What do you think of Isaiah Thomas playing?
Yeah,
Jake
but basketball's
Paul
still relevant. You know, boxing. I mean, when was the last time boxing was relevant, Gary?
This is trolling. You are trolling me.
No. I'm just glad your sport's relevant for a night. It's exciting. You got Mike Tyson, right? He was great in the 80s.
He was, and he was great in the 80s. He was good in the 90s.
Yeah.
And this is 2020s.
And Jake Paul has been great since he started your sport. So, I mean, what more do you want?
The undercard is actually pretty good. You got Barrios, the welterweight champ in the undercard. You got Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, the rematch. The first fight was great.
Yep.
But Serrano is going to lose because Katie Taylor is the female Canelo, so she starts every fight up 3-0. So you got to win 8 rounds to get a draw. So factor that in. But the card itself is actually pretty good. Like there's a prospect on Armando Casamonica from Italy who I like, and he's fighting Lucas Botti, who's another undefeated. It's a good card. It's just like you have this clown show free, and I hate it. Like when I was last week when I was out of town at a fight, the Uber driver said, "Oh, you're a boxing guy? What do you think of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson?"
Yeah,
I hate that.
Your sport is relevant. You should be kissing Jake Paul's feet. Clown show. Come on.
That really gonna piss me off. Like that. It's like, oh, you're a boxing guy. What do you think of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson? Pisses me off more than if you said that Joe Douglas has got a lifetime contract. That pisses me off more.
What hurts you more, that Joe Douglas has been able to ride out all 6 years of his deal, or the fact that your sport is only relevant because of a YouTuber this week?
That Jake Paul irritates me way more because this is my sport. This is my thing. And the people
you are a boxer. You are the boxer. You are boxing.
I'm Texas boxing. I am. Mario Serrano said that.
Who's going to win the fight, Paul or Tyson?
It's going to be a draw. Bet on a draw. If you can get plus 800 on a draw, I would take that prop. And I would take the over. I'd bet on a draw.
How would that work?
If it's a draw, you get $8 for every dollar you bet. You know how betting works, Jake. You
I
can
do,
bet
but
on a draw.
How
Yeah.
so? How would they draw? They would win the same amount of rounds on the scorecards.
Yeah.
How many rounds is this fight?
It's 10.
Okay.
Like Canelo Triple G won was a draw. So I would bet a draw, and then I would also, there was a prop that I liked that was like minus 250 on at least one knockdown. I think there'll be at least either fighter, just one knockdown total in the fight. I would take that prop. That's a good prop if you want to bet this fight. And then I would take the over too, over 6.5.
I'm excited.
I would take those things. But since you played the clown music, I have a real clown idea. And I want you to laugh at it, and I want you to mock it. And then I want you to consider, because every clown franchise, the Panthers, the Jaguars, they all do this.
Hold on.
They all
hold on.
hire a college.
If you have a clown idea, we have to do this first. SEAL Team 75, assemble.
The Clapping Seals, they're alive and well in the chat.
All right, here we go. Give an idea to the
full
Clapping
clown
Seals.
mode, completely embarrass the franchise, and hire a college. Sark, Freeze, Kiffin, just go full clown mode, hire a college coach, and we can all laugh at the franchise for the next year before he gets fired. Every embarrassing franchise does it. Now it's our turn. What do you think?
Why don't we just hire Mike Rabel or Brian Flores or Kevin Stefanski or John Gruden before we hire a college coach?
Because we're a clown franchise, and that's what clown franchises do, Jake. When I was a kid, I started watching the Jets in 1988. I was in kindergarten. And when I graduated high school, like from kindergarten to 12th grade, that's 13 years, right? They made the playoffs twice. And that's completely embarrassing. That's drastically better than the last 13 years where they've made it 0 times. I don't understand how you get worse than that, but somehow they did. Like, my last 13 years were worse than my first 13 years, which was a total embarrassment. I can't emotionally involve myself in this team anymore, so let's just go full clown mode, right? If they hire Lane Kiffin, you're like, okay, great. He's going to be fired by Christmas, and we're going to win 4 games. Let's just do it. There's no hope, no nothing. Let's just say we're an embarrassment of a franchise, and we're a clown show, and that's that.
Or they could do the smart thing and hire Mike Rabel or any of the other names we've discussed.
Then they're going to hire Mike Rabel, and we're going to have hope, right? And then they're going to go 6-11, and you're going to hate yourself. Let's just skip that part.
Do we know
and
that?
Let's just go straight clown.
I don't think we know that.
Ask Mike, Purple Belt Mike, what he thinks they're going to do.
Gary, I grew up the
Jake.
Jets.
I'm tired of it.
The Jets went to the playoffs 6 times when I was growing up watching this team in the 2000s.
The 2000s was good. That was the only decade.
It's the same owner.
Good.
It's the same owner. So let's try and hire the right people to turn this crap around. They have good players on this team. You thought they were going to go 12-4 before the year started. 12-5.
And that's why I want to go full clown mode. We're a joke of a franchise. We're an absolute embarrassment. And we were playing that. We're basically Jaguars of the Northeast. That's what we are.
Honestly, if they want to go real clown mode, great point. They should, by Nate in the chat, we should just make you the GM.
Couldn't possibly do any mathematically. I could probably do no worse than Joe Douglas. Like, it'd almost be impossible.
Yeah, not a bad point. I will acknowledge that. It's pretty bad.
That's what I'm saying. It's just I'm tired.
Would you wear a clown nose if we made you the GM though? Like at your work attire?
You're gonna pay me like Joe Douglas? You're gonna pay me a couple $1 million a year to be the GM of a clown franchise? I'll wear the clown nose.
We'll give you a standard GM contract, whatever that is.
Whatever that is. All I have to do is wear a clown nose?
At all times, though. Like, even when you make sweet love to your wife, you have to wear a clown nose.
You can come up and honk my nose. I will wear the clown nose if you let me be GM of the Jets. That is a deal. And I promise you, I won't do any worse than Joe Douglas, record-wise.
Right.
Well, I can't really possibly do any worse than that. He's not happy. He's not happy, Jake.
Who's not happy?
My son. He's not happy.
Is he a Jet fan?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a Jets fan.
Well, tell him he's got plenty more years of misery ahead of him.
My wife's a Bears fan, so that was the other option. It really wouldn't be any better. So
No. In fact, those are probably the 2 worst franchises historically to be fans of right now.
It's not good, Jake. It's not good.
Well, Gary, keep on honking, baby. I think we know our next emoji. Gary, his face with a clown nose on it. Gator, Joe Mike, Snowball, someone get to work. I want to update all the emojis because it's just sad seeing the hope of some of the Jet players we have featured. We can leave the Garrett one. He's been great. But all the Rodgers ones, just depressing to look at. Not that it's all him. It's just sad. So we need a Gary Clown nose emoji. That'll be our next one. More of your calls right now. Let's say hello to Philly Noodles. Philly, you wrote that I missed your super chat earlier. I didn't even realize. What was the super chat?
It was just me reminding us all that they win, Bengals lose, we're back in 8th place. Denver loss kills us because we would be 7th seed.
Yep.
Keep reminding ourselves that. But that's
still
the truth.
Playing this game.
Yeah, I think that's just it's the truth of the matter why they keep going to work, right? Like no matter what, besides getting paid, it's like, yeah, they're still in it mathematically, so it's whatever. But I think honestly, like looking back at the season now in a fold, we're about to hit the bye week. If you sit back and just look at it, I mean, we've all talked about it for the past week and the past couple of weeks. Solid firing too early. It is what it is. Could have been done season ending last year or at the end of this season. But honestly, no matter how much JD has done good, the moves that were pivotal were the loss of JFM. I think the loss of Mosley for most of the season. Basically, I think those were the key leaders in the room that we did not know about as fans, that we could sit back and say, oh, crap. It's probably why this season went the way that it did. They had Salah.
You can't blame Joe Douglas for Mosley getting injured.
No. I'm not. That's what I'm saying. So I think that's what's going to harken on Joe, though, when it comes to does he keep his job? Does he not? I mean, at this point, you could cut him loose. Is probably what's going to happen. But I just this is the hope. I still hold out on a little bit. No matter what, it is what it is. We can't help it. Maybe these guys want to ride for Ulbrich after the win. If they win this week coming up, listen. I think the most disturbing thing is as we're in the season, seeing the things that are so bad, like how in God's name do we keep Clemens still sitting on the edge when he can't set a precedence whatsoever? Like, obviously, whatever you tell him is just not translating. It's like he gets on the field and he's just like, which way do I go? What do I do? He's lost and he's just a lumbering fool out there. I'm not a player. I can't say much as maybe he's lost in scheme. I don't think the scheme's that hard. He's been there 3 years now. So clearly he can't produce. Put anyone else on the edge, please, dear God. Like, Reddick is going to have to play lights out alongside of McDonald to win this game. And then give us some semblance of hope again. And then I had some stuff that I could go over, but it's too long. It's a bunch of just free agents that are available next year. And the first sad part is you look at the first 10 available quarterbacks. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers is better than almost that entire list.
That's my point on if you're going to draft the quarterback anyway and he's under contract, like just have him be the bridge for a year. That was my point.
That's it. Just do it. It don't matter. Just leave it alone. We got the running back solved. Wide receivers almost solved. Tight end, you can walk away from Conklin, draft a rookie, promote Ruckert, or you just go and get another one. Maybe Gesicki wants to join us next year. Somebody who could, has got more, faster legs underneath him. I don't want to hear about Brock Bowers. Everybody stop. Don't even go in the comments, please. But now glaring problem is defensive line. Period in the story. Got to be your first round pick. This quarterback's there, sure.
Quarterback.
Yeah. Or you're gonna have the free agency figure it out. We're gonna lose Reed, so you'll lose money there, unless he comes back. But if you lose money there, you might as well invest it on defensive line really heavily, and go ahead and then draft quarterback first round.
Yeah, I mean Philly, good call. They have cap space. Like they have $32 million right now, and that's before they do some cuts and some restructures. They have money. Like it's just a matter of what direction is the franchise going with the GM that's in place. Mike D's nuts with a super chat. It's easy to say you could do someone else's job better. Never the truth, though. Yeah, Gary. You think you'd be a good GM. Huh. Thank you for the super chat, Mike. Kyle says, Jet YouTuber versus Dave Briga. 60 on the undercard. Oh, you want me against Dave Briga? Why me? It should be BMAC versus Dave Briga. I don't want to fight Dave. I like Dave. He's a good guy, Dave Briga. 25 says Gary eats sticks of butter straight up. Oh, Gary said this. Gary, do you eat sticks of butter straight up?
Indeed, I do.
Why?
Because butter's really good for you.
So break this down for me. You grab a stick of butter and you just eat it whole?
Like a candy bar. Yeah. My wife gets his butter from France. It's like the most delicious thing. So, yeah. I mean, have you ever had a candy bar?
I have, yeah.
And that's normal. But eating butter is weird. So eating a Butterfingers or a Twix bar, that's normal. But eating butter is weird.
I prefer a Hershey bar.
That's less weird because Hershey's is just chocolate and nuts, basically, right? I mean.
So explain this. You just decide to eat a straight up block of butter, like a stick of butter?
A stick of butter, yeah.
How many times a week?
So I'm out of the butter now. My wife goes back to France in a couple weeks, so she'll get some more. But so typically I eat once a day, and I have a pound of ground beef, half a pack of bacon, and a stick of butter, and that's my meal for the day. Hang on one second.
I'll hang on. It's more entertaining than talk about the Jets. Tell us more about your diet, Gary.
Yeah. It's carnivore diet. I only eat animal products.
So what do you do when this specific French butter is not available? You don't have
I
butter?
just go without the butter then. I just go without the butter.
So you only occasionally have a stick of butter with your meal every day.
She'll buy enough, like she'll bring back enough, but it'll last for like a month and a half, 2 months, and then she'll go back. But sometimes I don't eat the stick of butter every single day, but when we have it, I do.
All right.
You've never heard of the carnivore diet? This is shocking to you?
I have heard of a carnivore diet. I was unaware that in this diet you are required to eat a full stick of butter a night.
You're not required to. You just eat animal. Anything that comes from an animal product, anything that comes from an animal is good. Anything that comes from a plant, you should avoid.
So just to recap here for those maybe new to the show, you like gas station pizza and you eat butter
gas
stick.
Station pizza. No, that's not what I said. I said gas station pizza is better than
And
McDonald's
you
or
eat
Wendy's.
dinner with a butter stick. Am I following?
You're kind of strawmanning the position. Did I say I like gas station pizza? No, that's not what I said. I said it's better than Burger King or Wendy's or McDonald's. And then what was the second part of that? Just eating a stick of butter. Yeah, that's not weird. Eating butter is not weird. Like, I guarantee you.
You also don't like chicken and pasta.
It would be weird if I did like chicken and pasta. That's a no-no. Chicken and pasta is a no-no. It's like cheese and fish. It's just those two things. No good.
Tom Ace writes in, Jake, ask Gary why he doesn't like plants.
Oh, because plants are trying to kill you. That's why you can't just go out in the wilderness and start eating plants. Most of them will kill you. And the ones that don't are still letting. So an animal will bite you.
The floor is yours.
An animal will bite you or sting you to try to survive. Plants can't do that, right? So they let off poisons because they don't want you to eat them. Plants are not figuratively, they are literally trying to kill you so they can survive. So I would suggest not eating plants. Everything you need from plants to survive, you can get in meat. Not everything you can get in meat that you need to survive can you get in plants. So you need to eat meat to survive. You don't need to eat plants to survive. And for optimal health, I would suggest you don't.
So you believe plants are trying to kill you?
Plants are trying to kill you. They let off poisons to try to survive, right? It's an evolutionary thing. The plants want to survive just like other animals do. And that's why you can't just go eat random things out of the wilderness because it will kill you, right? Most plants on planet Earth you can't eat because they're poison to you. The ones that we do eat still have lower levels of poison in them.
Right, so they're not trying to kill you.
What was that?
Like, I had a salad for lunch the other day.
That is trying to kill you.
You're telling me my Caesar salad is trying to kill me.
Not the chicken. Did you have chicken in the Caesar salad? Or
it was a grilled chicken Caesar salad.
Yeah, the grilled chicken, good. There's cheese in that too. What's it a Caesar salad? There's cheese in it, right?
It depends.
Cheese is good.
You don't have to put cheese in it.
But
I'm talking about specifically the The romaine lettuce. That was trying to kill me, and I had no idea.
Plants are trying to kill you, Jake. Plants are trying to kill you. Plants want to survive just like any other living thing.
Well, this might be my last show I ever do.
I think you'll be okay. It's like,
No, I have a date tonight. I might get a salad with my dinner.
Oh, well, now you kind of buried the lead here a little bit. You have a date. Well, let's hear about this.
No, we're focused on your eating habits, not my love life. I have more questions for you.
Okay.
Why are you the way you are?
I've never been a normal person. I'm not a normal person. I've just never been a normal person ever. As a kid.
And you procreated, correct?
3 times.
That's stunning.
Stunning. As a kid, kids, you want to play tag, you want to race bikes. I didn't want to do that. I only wanted to fight, right? I didn't want to fight. Like when I was Neil said he was 100 pounds in first grade. When I was in kindergarten, I would have tried to pick a fight with him because if I win, I beat up the older big kid. If I lost, who cares? He's a year older than me, 100 pounds. What does it matter? But that's how I thought at 5 years old. So I was never normal.
Big fella says, serious question. How does pizza fit in the carnivore diet?
It doesn't. There are 2 cities that I come off my diet for, New York and New Orleans. If I go there, then everything, all bets are off. I'm eating whatever I want.
Okay, Mike D's Nuts, you get the 5 memberships, which we'll get to. He's calling you Butterbrain. Your thoughts?
That's good. Your brain is made of fat. There's lots of fat in butter. That's not a compliment. That's not the burn you think it is. Your brain is a fat.
Mike D's Nuts also says now the takes make more sense
because your brain is a fat. Yeah.
Purple Belt Mike.
If I drank Kool-Aid and Sprite and ate Twix bars and whatever out of the microwave, that would be normal. But since I eat foods with 1 ingredient, that's somehow weird. Like beef, butter, and bacon, that's weird to eat.
Congrats to Gary on a top 3 finish in the November as Maniac rankings, by the way, with this call. Mike writes in, I think we found a serial killer. Stick of butter. So to confirm, you're not a serial killer, right?
No, I'm certainly not.
Okay.
I'm certainly not. Many serial killers were vegetarians, though. Just keep that in mind.
Interesting. Oh, I would actually argue a Caesar salad is a serial killer because it's trying to kill you.
Plants are... You can laugh. You can look it up. Everything I'm saying, you can get plant poisoning. This is not like some weird thing. It's just look, Jake. You're in your 20s. I get it. You're young. You can eat whatever and still feel good the next day and have a ton of energy. Give it 10 years, Jake. Give it 10 years. Seriously, you're young. You could. I used to eat garbage too when I was.
I don't know if I'm going to make it 10 more years. I have a lot of salad.
Not if you're getting that many plants.
Yeah, no, I have plenty of salad. How do you feel about broccoli? Does that count?
I mean, how do I like broccoli, but no, you probably shouldn't be eating broccoli.
Okay, what about carrots?
I never liked carrots. Do you like carrots?
Yeah, I mean, they used to call me Bugs Bunny back in the day.
I'm not eating carrots because it's a plant, but I wouldn't eat carrots because I don't want to eat carrots. Even if they weren't trying to kill me, I still can't see me sitting down and eating carrots.
Philly Noodle says he just explained how Jake Paul feels. Oh no.
I don't get the reference.
How do you feel about blueberries?
Berries, if you're gonna eat plants, berries are the way to go. There's good stuff in berries. I know people who do carnivore who will eat berries occasionally. Berries are okay. If you're gonna eat some type of plant, eat the fruit, not the plant, right? So eat the fruit, not the vegetable. And if you had to pick a fruit, go with berries. Blueberries, blackberries, strawberries. It's better than not.
We'll get back to your bizarre serial killer-like behavior in a moment. Lane Train writes in, how do you feel about Aaron Rodgers, Boose Hall, Brandon Johnson, CJ Mossy, and Woody Johnson, and DJ Reed, and Sauce Gardner, and Jeff Urbian, and Joe Douglas for the Jets this year in 2024? I don't feel good about them, Lane. They're 3-7, unfortunately.
Can we go through this one at a time? Aaron Rodgers, it is what it is. We kind of missed the boat on him. The injury set us back, and we never really fully recovered. Boose Hall, I still think is a stud. What do you think about Boose Hall?
Bruce is a little better, but Bruce is fine.
Brandon Johnson?
Never heard of him.
Don't know either. CJ Mosley, he's the second cousin twice removed of CJ Mosley.
Yeah, he hasn't played this year either. Yeah, he's dealing with an injury as well.
He's had a Pro Bowl career. He's not going to make the Hall of Fame, but he'll be on the ballot. Like CJ Mosley had a hell of a career.
I heard CJ Mosley had a Caesar. he had a Caesar salad last week. That's why his neck is hurting him still.
Probably
right before the Patriots game. He had a Caesar salad and warm-ups, and he couldn't go out there and play that day.
Can we figure out what's going on with your connection with Lane? Because he called in the Bobby show and his connection was fine, but something happens when his connection calls into this show specifically. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, look, I don't really have an answer for you, Gary, but we did learn a lot about you in this call.
I'm glad. I'm glad. If you have any questions, hit me up in the Discord. I'm happy to. What's his name? Metro Funny did the carnivore diet about a month. He said he lost 40 pounds in the first month.
And he had a stick of butter with every meal.
He's only done. I think he's only done beef. You can ask him. Like I did Lions Diet. Lions Diet's only ground beef. That's it. That's it. For 90 days, I did it. It gets a little bit much. So then I did beef, butter, and bacon. Beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. The actual name of the diet, but I cut out the eggs. I don't know. The eggs never make inflamed or something. I didn't like the eggs. So I just cut the eggs out. Beef, butter, bacon.
I see. I will do this because he's flailing his arms, and I don't want him to go all Bobby Midnight on me again after yesterday. I will do this. I will bring on Robert.
Yeah, Gary, we got to get to the other question. Me and you, we got to get the
Thank you, Bob. All right,
what was the other question?
Yeah, we'll never know.
I feel like it's like when your wife says we need to talk. Like,
it's a mystery.
This isn't going to be good. This isn't a good conversation.
Yep. All right, Gary. Well, thanks for your time today. And
all right, have a good one.
We're gonna have to update one of these like boxer knockouts because this butter stick stuff is something. Plus,
you didn't know this?
Your more outrageous take is about plants trying to kill you. So, Gator, do your magic.
Chicken with pasta is worse than peanut butter with sandwich.
When you eat plants, it's trying to kill you. I'll let Gator handle the creative element of that. What a call. What a show. We're in the prime offseason mode right now on the show. The team is 3-7. There's still 7 games left. Bobby Slayer's next. Hey, Bobby.
Hello.
Bobby Slayer. I believe your name is actually Joseph, who
Yes,
Bobby got into with yesterday,
Yes.
I believe.
Yes.
And for those who missed yesterday's show, Joseph called in. I go in order of people waiting on hold the longest. I don't play favorites here. I try to be fair to everyone. So Joseph was up next with Robbie Sabo yesterday, and Bobby was very upset that a guy he's never heard of went before him.
You're ridiculous. Yeah. Oh, you got one more call? You got enough for one more call? Look at Jake, he's laughing.
Okay?
I've been waiting in the back. You put that guy on. Who is he? You're ridiculous. Yeah. So how you doing, Robbie Sable?
Good. What's up, buddy?
No, goodbye, Bobby. See ya. Good to have you back on the show, Joseph. How are you?
Thank you. Wonderful.
Are you going by the Bobby Slayer? Is that your new name on the show?
No, I'm just gonna change. I just did it one day.
Okay.
One time. So just calling. So I missed this morning's stream, and I really don't know even to say right now. I had a train of thought, and Gary kind of ruined it all. I've realized he just got punched too many times in his head or something. I'm just kidding. But no. So I do like the option of some head coaches that you've kind of discussed and talked about already. The only thing that scares me the most, kind of, is if we go back to Rex, because I kind of want it. At the same time, if he brings back that 3-4 defense, that means we're probably gonna have to get rid of Quinnen Williams, because I don't see him playing the gap.
I don't think they're hiring Rex.
I'm just saying if they did go that route. I don't think they are either. I'm just saying if they did.
I don't know. They had Chris Jenkins when Rex first got there in 09.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just thinking.
Also, how do we know Rex is going to run the same scheme? Rex is talking
That's
about
what I was saying. I don't know if he will or not. I'm just saying if he goes back to that 3-4 defense, I don't know if he'd be able to run that gap. But I didn't really hear. What are you thinking for offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator? Like, let's say we can get a Gruden. Let's say we can get a Vrabel. Let's say we can get what is the top offensive coordinator in your market? Or in the market?
I like Brian Dable if he got fired and wasn't a head coach again.
Okay.
That's one name. To be honest, it's going to be tough to come up with names right now because I'm still just thinking about that call from Gary. A lot happened there.
Yes, eating a stick of butter.
And plants are trying to kill. Don't have a salad, Bobby, all right?
All right. Well, I was just kind of wrapping it. I was thinking like my dream would be Stefanski, Dable, and then seeing if Rex would come back as a defense coordinator. I don't know if he would.
I don't think he would.
I don't think he would either. But I would like that option the most, I think. But
Bobby Slayer, great call. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, one of our arch nemesis is on the line. We say hello to JJ. Hello, JJ.
What's going on? What's going on?
Here we go. It's going to be one of those JJ internet calls. Continue, JJ.
No,
this will go great.
I don't think it's going to be that bad.
Unreal. JJ, call back, and we'll try again. That's all we can do at this point. Just keep on trying. Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. If you missed Gary's call, I highly recommend you go back and watch it. And people, please timestamp your favorite moments down in the comments so people could catch up on what they might have missed. Let's see. All right, here we go.
Allen alert, fraud alert, curmudgeon alert, Allen alert. Nobody likes this shitbag.
Hello, Alan.
Hey, Jake. First of all, I guess Neil gets a 24-hour reprieve.
No Jeff today. Jeff, hopefully tomorrow, unfortunately. It's going to come up last second.
I said he gets a 24-hour reprieve, so good.
Yes.
About an hour and a half ago, somebody actually offered me 2 tickets to the Jake Paul fight on Friday. I laughed. So
Hey, Gary, do you want to go to the Jake Paul fight?
I do not. I absolutely do not want to go.
Hold on. Hear me out. Alan has the tickets. I will buy you a stick of butter to enjoy on your way to the arena.
Jake, I'm not trying to sound like a butter snob here, but I only eat a very specific type of butter that comes straight from Paris. I mean, I'm sure your butter is fine. I'm just very specific. I'm out of that butter, so I'm just not eating butter right now. I'm very specific, loyal to the butter that I eat.
All right. I will. I don't know. I'll do something good for Decker. We'll send her a bunch of Asmaniac merch or something like that. But you and Alan have to go to the fight together.
I'm not going to the fight.
I would not go. I said
no.
I would not go.
We need this.
I'll do something else. Me and Alan could go somewhere else and hang out. I hung out with him before. I like Alan. He's a great dude. I'm just not going to the fight. And the card itself is pretty good. I just can't support that clown show.
Yes, I said no as well.
The irony of you saying you won't support a clown show and you're calling in telling us that my Caesar salad's trying to kill me.
I put in the chat. I put a video on Anthony Chafee, the doctor. He explains it better than I can. But yeah, you can't just go out and eat plants, Jake. Most plants will poison you. Like, this is not weird.
Alan, what are your thoughts on the Caesar salad murderers that seem to be popping up?
Gary is an interesting dude. I'll tell you the thing. I really enjoyed spending time with him. I think his wife is phenomenal. I will never understand the whole stick of butter on one sitting. We had a discussion about that, but that's Gary. Gary's a unique individual. Again, that, my friend, was a top 3 call for the month. I mean, that guy goes straight up to the. That's
is
right
it up there with?
No,
is it up there with Chiefs fan?
No. There's no Chiefs fan. Chiefs fan's number 1. You're 2-3. You're definitely ahead of that moron V-Man. V-Man's bottom 10 right now, okay?
V-Man's hit or miss. I feel like he's he's all in or like all out. He's either 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, or no touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Like, there's no in between on a V-Man.
He's the Jameis Winston of Asmaniac callers.
That's a very good comparison. Absolutely. Jake, I have a comment on what one of your guests said. He actually said that the Jets were a complete football team. Did he just say that? You know how many
paper they are.
But you know how many holds that team has right now going into next year?
I mean,
well, yeah, they're 3-7. But when you look at the team, what are the weaknesses other than they're absolute trash? Like, we agree on that, but like, why?
Okay. They have no safeties. They have bottom 5. Oh, they have the worst safety group in the league. Okay, the worst. There's
I don't
no
think
one.
Chuck Clark is that bad. He's now back this week, hopefully.
He's awful. Okay, they have a bottom 5 tight end room. Okay, awful.
You're bringing up
Awful.
non-premium positions though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Going into next year, we're talking about going into next year. DJ Reed's walking, so they don't even know what they're going to do with that second cornerback position. And now we're worried about the number 1 quarterback position. Reddick's walking, and we don't even know what type of player JJ is going to be next year. And then you have a 41-year-old quarterback going into his 42nd year. You have no idea what type of team you're going to be next year.
They're not a complete team, but they're not. This is not 2021 that Salah and Douglas were taking over together.
They don't have good fullbacks.
He said complete team. That's where I just got lost.
Okay, so you got upset over the semantics of the word complete. If I tell you they have a pretty good roster that would be inherited by a new regime, that's not fair to say? You have a number 1 wide receiver. You have a legitimate 4/5 of your offensive line in place. That's probably better than most teams that are coming in.
I worry about their offensive line, their health. They are an average.
You have a
offensive
star
line.
running back, a very good number 2 running back. You I think we're downplaying how Garrett Wilson's a beast.
Oh no, you said very good number 2 running back. No, he's not a very good number 2 running back.
Yeah,
He's a good.
You could have drafted Bucky Irving if you were smart, but we don't have a smart GM. We have Joe Douglas, so he didn't draft Bucky Irving. He traded all his picks down and drafted.
David Montgomery is a very good number 2 running back. Please do not put Braylon Allen as a good number 2 running back. He's average at best. Okay.
They have a talented roster in several key areas that would be defined as premium positions. Is my point. Yeah, the tight end room is not great. They need to improve at safety. They probably got to figure out how they can improve the D line after Douglas dismantled it. I agree with all that, but you're still talking about Quinnen on that defense, Sauce on that defense, Quincy on that defense,
You will have
Jermaine
back,
McDonald. Yeah. This is still a pretty talented roster compared to some of the other openings around the league.
It's a good room. He said pretty talented. He said complete. That's all I just argue with. And also he said he would never hire Ben Johnson as a head coach. If Ben Johnson wanted this job, I would give three draft picks for that guy right now. Okay.
Would you eat a stick of butter on the air?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
I would eat a stick of butter, basically. Gary's in really good shape. I'm fascinated by his diet. I don't know if I could do it more than a day, but
he doesn't eat plants. That's why. You know, he has no plants. He doesn't want to get killed.
Yeah. The half a pound of bacon just lost me. But
bacon worse than the amount of nutrients in pig fat is top notch. It's like right behind it's like fish, beef, and pig fat, like the 3 most nutrients filled foods you can eat.
I don't think my rabbi wife would appreciate that.
Probably not. So I'm not telling you. Like again, and a pig's a filthy animal. I understand why people.
Gary, you're not invited to Shabbat dinner at Alan's house.
No Shabbat dinner. No. But again, I'm fascinated by Gary's diet. That was a top 3 call. That is he can overtake me as the heel of the month. Okay, I will take a back seat. And again, for JJ, please get new internet. Please, it's enough.
He's one of the big 3. JJ's one of the big 3. We need to have internet. Like, I mean, this right here is the trifecta. This is like this.
Hey, JJ,
you're missing Peter. With Peter Castro, he's a part of this too.
That's true.
Yeah, but
that's a good point,
Peter Castro lost me when he said 14-3. That guy is a complete fool.
He's turned on Rodgers too. He was the biggest Rodgers guy.
I thought the same thing. Jake convinced me of the same thing.
I convinced you. I didn't have to go 14-3.
Jake told us that. Yeah, me and Peter, we bought in. We bought in even more than you guys.
Yeah, so how's that my fault? I didn't predict him to go 14-3
Did you say?
Because every day you came on the show and you told us that we were going to be a good team.
I do. I still don't regret saying that. I thought they would be a good team. I still.
You know how talented the Jets are. Allen picked them to win 10 games. That's how good they are.
Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing real quick? I just want to say, it really, I'm not a I told you so type of guy, but it disgusts me that you guys, not you, the big three right here, but people in the chat were literally trying to tell us this is the best team, better than the 2010, 2009 team. They can't even tie their shoes. This team is not talent-wise nowhere comparable to them. All right, that's a laughable joke. So the fact that, you guys were going around saying, and even Woody Johnson says, oh, this is the best team I've had in 20 years. That's the problem right there. We can clearly see they weren't better than those two teams right there, and they don't have heart. We got a bunch of divas on the team.
We didn't know
who
that,
don't even
though,
play hard.
to be fair.
Sauce Gardner
And also, JJ, a lot of
and Alan tried to tell you.
He picked them to win 10 games. You had them winning 14. What is it?
I did not say they'd win the division. I said they'd win 10 games.
Right, but Alan, I don't care about your take on this. It's fine. Like 10 games is not. JJ has them going 14-3 too. He just said. Explain that one.
I thought we were getting a semi-mobile quarterback. Unfortunately, I don't think we got that.
And I also thought Tyron Smith wouldn't go from second-team All-Pro last year to unplayable at times. I also thought that when you looked at the offense, it would be much more Brees driven, and he would be great. And the run blocking was not great at the beginning of the year. I also thought this defense was still going to be a top 10 unit again this year. I thought they'd be top 5, but certainly top 10, not according to DVOA.
Yeah, but
what did I say this morning? 22nd. Oh God, this is a great delay by JJ. Everyone lay out. Yeah, JJ.
I'm just saying, after the San Francisco game, we should have known.
You missed like 17 words of that sentence. What were you saying, JJ?
After the San Francisco game, we should have known the team stinks. I mean, it's week 1, man. Like, there's so many results of week 1 not mattering in the NFL. The Ravens were 0-2.
Hey, Jake, the most important part of this
call but the Ravens look good.
I hope
the Jets were 2-1. They look good too, leaving MetLife after that Thursday night home opener you and I were both at.
Jake, the most important part of this call is you better not take half this girl's money tonight. You better pay full.
Oh, I always pay. Come on now.
Okay, I don't know what you 20-somethings do on dates. All I know is like if I was 20 whatever in the dating world again.
Do you think I'm 21, Gary? You keep
I said 20 whatever. If I was
he's saying 20 something. He's like I just turned 21. I just got my driver's license.
If I was real ID. If I was in that position, I would just check out and never date again. I'd probably passport it up and just go somewhere else. That's
how'd you meet your wife? How'd you meet your wife, Gary?
What was that?
Meet your wife, Gary?
I met my wife. I mean, I've been married 13 years. I met her at a Mets game. She was sitting behind me. Sitting in the row behind me. At a Mets game.
She was eating a block of cheese, and Gary was like, "Holy crap!" All right, can I end the show? I'm done. I can't do this anymore. This is an off-season show. We have to unfortunately do it in November.
Hey, can I just say one thing though? I think we're going on a run. We're gonna beat the Colts. We're gonna win out.
God.
We're going to the playoffs, baby.
No, hang him up.
Excuse me.
I mean, what are we doing here? That's a poo-poo take there. JJ saying he's blaming me for him thinking the Jets are going to be good. I didn't have the Jets going 14-3. JJ did. And then he ends his call by saying they're going on a run. What? What's going on here? That Gorman clip, by the way, I love it so much. It's a great way to use to just reset. Incredible. What a show, man. Gary is telling us plants are trying to kill us. He eats sticks of butter. But don't worry. I got one more trick up my sleeve for all the Asmaniacs who are tuned in right now. But first, let me get to a couple super chats, and then we'll bring on our final caller. First things first. Mike D's Nuts wrote in. Respect Jake for valuing the callers. Love it. Mike also gifted 5 memberships earlier in the show and another 5 memberships. I only have the most recent 5. So if you got a membership from Mike, you know what to do. You thank him.
Bang! Thank you, Mike D's Nuts, for another gifted membership.
Ernie Acosta. Longtime sports radio listeners will know that name. He was Joe and Evans' producer on The Fan for many years. He just got gifted a membership. Thanks for watching, Ernie. Onana, Christian Martin, Walter Raines, and the 42EG0, all receiving channel memberships. I got some other super chats I want to get into here. I always appreciate everyone who super chats it. Philly Noodles, he wrote in earlier that he just explained how Jake Paul we already read that one. Never mind. There was a $10 one from Modulus. Modulus, thank you. I should have got to this earlier, but we were in prime Gary being Gary when this happened. So thank you, sir. A team like the Lions are a light year ahead of the Jets. The Jets wouldn't stand a chance against a team like Detroit. Jets are awful, not even competitor, let alone playoff Super Bowl caliber team. Yeah, man, they're 3-7. I mean, I appreciate the super chat. You didn't need to spend $10 to tell us the Jets are not as close to the Lions. The Lions, I think, might be the best team in the NFL. I put Kansas City 1 out of respect to their history, but eye test, the team that looks the best in the league right now plays in Detroit. So, yeah. I don't know what to tell you, man. Can the Jets get to a playoff level next year? I think with better coaching, they can be. I still do think there's a talent on this team. But yeah, man, I mean, look, the Jets would not stand a chance against the Lions. But you know what? Any given Sunday, like the Texans got blown out by the Jets last week. And they almost beat the Lions. They should have got through 5 picks. So, like, you know, it's still a game-by-game league at times. But yeah, the Lions, of course, are better than the Jets. Who's arguing that? We thought the Jets would be the Lions with Saleh. But everything we thought Saleh is, Dan Campbell actually is. But it just shows you, if you hire the right people, you could turn it around. Detroit was a bigger joke than the Jets in their history. Ladies and gentlemen, I know who we have to say hello to. We have to say hello to the Lane Train.
Hi, how are you? Bruce Hall. That's good.
Hey, Lane. Lane, your mic is muted. And he's gone. What has happened to Lane? How are we going to find out who this year's Knoble is if we can't get Lane on the show? I'm laughing at this comment from Curly. Turn it around. LOL, yeah, right. Curly, you're back? You commented on one of my videos the other day. Love the show. I can't do it for my mental health anymore. I'm gone. And you're back the next day. You're sick. All right? Put on the clown costume, Curly. You're just as bad as Gary with these takes. Ladies and gentlemen, we will try again to reach the Lane Train.
Hi, how are you? Bruce Hall. That's good.
Hey, Lane.
Okay.
Lane?
Yes. Yeah,
How are you?
I'm
He's gone. Who's ever doing this to Lane? Make it stop. Stop it. All right, it's bad enough the football team we all root for stinks. You're going to take the Lane Train away from us too? At least give us that. All right? At least give us Lane. You can't. The Jets are bad enough. You're going to take the Lane Train away from us too? I mean, come on, man. Make it stop. Somebody.
Hi, how are you? Bruce Hall. That's good.
Lane? Why couldn't this happen to Gary? It happened to Lane or Alan. Why couldn't this happen to Alan? Sad. Curly wrote, "You're 100%. I am clown." I kid you not. Curly yesterday wrote, "I can't do it anymore. Love the show, but I can't watch." And then he's back the next day. You're sick. Let's see if the Lane Train can actually stay connected this time. Lane, are you there?
Yes.
Hi, Lane.
So,
Now I look like Bobby Midnight with his camera angle. Hi, everybody. It's Bob from Vermont. I am Bob, of course. Come on, Lane. No. We were so close. I didn't even play the intro this time. I just saw he was back on. I'm like, let me get him on real quick. Man. Sad. The football team can't be bad enough. They got to take the Lane train from us, too. Unreal. All right. Let me make sure I didn't miss any super chats here. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Oh, there was a comment I did want to read during the whole Gary saga. Boomtown. Honey, please remove the lettuce, carrots, and green peppers from the fridge. They're trying to kill us. Thank you. You know, I know Nick Shine at the end of his show does a What Did We Learn? We did a What Did We Learn for this one? It's that plants are trying to kill you, kids. Stay away. Thinking about having a salad for lunch? Might be your last meal ever. All right. Thank you all for your support. Hit the like button on your way out of here. Join the Patreon if you haven't already. I could really use the support. The show in late November, and there's only 300 people watching right now. Damn Jets. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. Thank you all for tuning in. Let's get out of here on a high note. Earlier, we debuted a song by one of our great listeners, Blitz BK, who's put out hit after hit since he started submitting songs over the summer. This one is titled Everything Must Change, and it is a classic. Enjoy it. We're back tomorrow. Nick Faria joins us 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow in his weekly spot on the show. I'll talk to you guys then. Go Jets. Go Knicks tonight. Have a good one, everybody.
Everything must change someday, I know, oh yeah. I know you won't believe, but darling, I love you so. And everything must change someday, I know, oh yeah. Yeah. Everything must change someday, I know, oh yeah.
Gotta change, gotta change.
Everything must change someday, I know, oh yeah.
I know you won't believe me.
Darling, I love you so.
Yeah, back again, but it's been the same since 93. I feel the rain, feel the pain like I'm Joey B. I saw Coslick, Carroll, Coat Tight, Billy P. Belichick outgrow, and I'm still a fan, no silly me. Many of us so silly we haven't seen a chip since our dads was in Little League. Now we literally dads with kids in Little League. Next playoff victory, tell me who the hell knows, it's a mystery. I lived through the fake spike, so I hate life. I saw quarterback legends and they failed twice. Legend has it, name is sold his soul, time to pay the price. Homie gotta know, time to take that flight. Gotta make this right. This is us against the gods, we can't win this fight. Gotta take what's ours, that just grip too tight. Against all odds, gotta rebuild this right, yeah.
Everything must change.